Sports information. Now the most comprehensive news organization on Guam and in the Northern Marianas, the Cable News Team.
Happy and good evening, Guam. I'm Ginger Crendon.
And I'm Kirk Chason. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. Topping our news tonight, that weather system 500 miles to the north of us that should have moved on overnight is still parked up north of the island, and that is what has been causing all of the nasty weather during the day. The system is still 500 miles due north of the island, and it's not showing much movement at this time. It does not pose a danger to us in a general sense, but it is causing some problems out in Apra Harbor, especially with the private boats at the Marianas Yacht Club. It seems that the system is causing the winds to blow out of the west, and that is causing some serious problems for some of the boats. At least one sailboat, the 24-foot Now or Never, was blown up on the rocks this afternoon and did sustain some damage. The last word that we have is that it has been towed off of the rocks, and it's now in the harbor of refuge. A larger sailboat, the Race Ipsa, was also in trouble late this afternoon. Apparently, it swung around on its anchor line and damaged the centerboard, causing it to take on water. The last word was that it was still afloat, and several people were on board trying to make repairs to the hull. Apparently most, if not all of the boats in the Marianas Yacht Club area have been or are being towed to the harbor of refuge at this hour. We'll have more on today's unusual weather later on in this newscast. While both Republican and Democratic senators say they are waiting for the next legislative session so they can try to override Governor Joe Atta's veto on Bill 296, legislative sources say only 3 senators are off island tonight, while a 4th senator is preparing to leave. Senator Eddie Duenas will be on the mainland until August 8th. He is attending an annual meeting of state legislatures in Reno, Nevada, and he'll also be at the congressional hearings on war reparations in Washington, D.C. So far, the legislature's executive director, George Flores, says he has advanced Duenas $2,060 for per diem, including $700 listed as miscellaneous expenses. Flores has also advanced an $880 check to Duenas staffer Greg Calvo. The legislature is paying about $1,450 each for 2 plane tickets, making the total cost of the Duenas trip about $5,800. Senator Madeline Bordallo is also off island, but Flores says the local Democratic Party paid for her trip to the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. Senator Ted Nelson is preparing to leave soon to testify at the war reparations hearings in Washington. Flores says he has issued Nelson a per diem check for just over $2,500 covering 12 days and another per diem check for $2,160 to Nelson staffer James P. Castro. Nelson could not be reached for comment this afternoon. Meanwhile, the 3rd senator to actually be off island right now is Ernesto Espaldon. A staffer at his office says the senator is attending his daughter's wedding on the mainland. Espaldon is apparently paying for this trip out of his own pocket because Flores has not issued any per diem checks for it. And after talking with Speaker Franklin Kittigwa this afternoon, Majority Leader Don Parkinson says he thinks the next legislative session will be called sometime in August. Well, after 2 cancellations, Continental Air Micronesia's Flight 6 to Honolulu is finally getting off the ground tonight at 6:45. Air Mic spokesman James Nelson says Flight 6, normally scheduled to depart at 11 a.m., was canceled yesterday because of a fuel leak and a problem with the DC-10's navigational system. That system has been repaired, but Nelson says the airline is still waiting on a replacement part to fix the fuel leak. He says the part should arrive on a flight from Hawaii tomorrow morning. In the meantime, the airline was forced to cancel this morning's flight and reschedule it for 6:45 tonight. We have this just into the cable newsroom. The Los Angeles Times is reporting tonight that former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos is offering $5 billion to the Philippines and the government of Corazon Aquino if he is allowed to return without prosecution to his homeland. Marcos' chief spokesman said in Honolulu, Marcos is also offering to work on Philippine-U.S. reconciliation if there is no indictment in the U.S. Estimates of the amount of money allegedly diverted from the Philippine Treasury by Marcos range from $1 to $10 billion. The offer of $5 billion has reportedly raised suspicions as to how much Marcos allegedly took. Marcos is now living in exile in Honolulu.
Well, still on tap on cable news, former Vice President Walter Mondale had a busy day today. We'll bring you up to date.
And we'll have an update on those controversial pedestrian lights down in Tumont. Don't go away. Vice President Walter Mondale is winding down tonight from a very long day here on Guam after arriving here over the weekend. Mondale is a member of the law firm that has been chosen to lobby for the Guam Commonwealth Act in the U.S. Congress. He met with the Commissioners' Council at Adelup, an effort to get in touch with what are being called the grassroots leaders of the island. Mondale told the commissioners that the idea of the Chamorro right to self-determination is something that can be sold to the American people on the mainland.
You'd like to know what are the ground rules, and you'd like to have some that allow you to run your own lives. Second thing is the fact that the Chamorros have never been asked or permitted to say what their status is. You look around you in this region and you see others have been given that right, you have not been, and you believe properly that your patriotism, your commitment to America has been such that the time has come that be permitted. And as we stay on that level, I think we can sell Americans on that.
Mondale's day today also included a breakfast meeting with senators as well as an informal lunch with Governor Joe Atta and Congressman Ben Blas. In the afternoon, he paid what is being described as a courtesy call to Navy Admiral T.J. Johnson. Mondale's day tomorrow will include a meeting with the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and he is scheduled to fly back to the mainland tomorrow night. After this newscast, Mondale will be here at the Cable News Studios, where he will be Ron Tangy's guest on Cable Forum at 7:30. Now, it's not very often that Guam residents get a chance to ask questions of a top federal official and a top local official with a simple telephone call. But tonight on Cable Forum, former Vice President Walter Mondale and Governor Joe Atta will be doing just that. Forum host Ron Tangy says the special 90-minute show will be a chance for viewers to find out more about Guam's Commonwealth struggle and the leaders behind it. A 27-year-old GPA electrician is recovering this evening from a 20-foot fall. According to GPA Deputy General Manager Eloy Hara, Ivan Shiroma was installing power transformers in Harmon late yesterday afternoon when his bucket truck malfunctioned and tipped him out onto the street, a fall of about 20 feet. Shiroma was taken to Guam Memorial Hospital. He was treated for a concussion and kept overnight for observation. He has since been released. Hara says the accident is being investigated by the GPA safety officer, and the truck involved in the accident has been taken off the street for repairs. But coming up in sports tonight, Tom Blas reports that history has been made at Wrigley Field because the lights are on for the first time.
And weather is next. We'll find out all about today's nasty weather. The forecast is next, so stay with us.
That is Cable News for tonight. We thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Hope you have a great night.